When you hear the name Air Supply, what comes to mind? Probably those soaring vocals, the epic power ballads, right? But what if I told you the story behind the music is a wild ride of shocking poverty, unbelievable success, a massive fall from grace, and a global comeback that almost nobody in the West ever saw happening? This is one you're going to want to hear.
Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine you're on a huge tour, opening for a rock superstar, and you're literally digging through hotel sofa cushions for loose change just to eat. That was the reality for Graham Russell and Russell Hitchcock. It's just mind-blowing.
And yet, from that absolute rock bottom, they managed to build an empire. I mean, going from scrounging for toast money to selling over 100 million albums, that is one of the most incredible turnarounds in music history. So how on earth did they pull it off?
Well, their story doesn't start in a garage like so many other bands. Nope, it begins in a way more unexpected place, the chorus line of a massive stage musical.
Okay, check out how fast this all happened. May 1975. They're just two guys who hit it off over a shared love for the Beatles while in the cast of Jesus Christ Superstar. A year later, boom, they've got a local hit. By '77, they land the break of a lifetime, opening for Rod Stewart in North America. But this is where that poverty quote comes from. The tour was a total financial disaster, and they flew back to Australia thinking the dream was completely dead.
But then, a song happened. The one song that would somehow find its way to the most powerful man in the music industry and change their lives literally overnight.
This sequence of events is just unbelievable. Graham Russell writes Lost in Love in 15 minutes. 15 minutes! It does pretty well in Australia, but then, by some complete twist of fate, the song lands on the desk of the legend himself, Clive Davis. He hears something special, has it remixed, and unleashes it on America. The result was a straight-up explosion.
And that one song just opened the floodgates. From 1980 to '83, they were absolutely unstoppable. Just look at this list: 7 U.S. top 5 singles in a row, including a #1 hit. They were the undisputed kings of the power ballad. They owned the airwaves.
But you know how it goes, especially in the 80s pop world. Nothing lasts forever. And for Air Supply, the end of their reign in America came just as fast as their rise to the top.
The contrast here is just staggering. The first half of the decade they couldn't miss. But after 1985, it's like someone just flipped a switch. The well just went completely dry in the US. By 1987, the band had pretty much broken up. As far as most of the world was concerned, the Air Supply story was over.
But it wasn't, not even close. While their star was fading in the West, a second, even more passionate fan base was waiting for them on the other side of the planet. And this is the part of the story most people have never heard.
It all kicks off with this album right here. In the States, The Vanishing Race barely made a ripple. It kind of seemed to confirm that Air Supply was just a nostalgia act. But there was one song on this album that was about to give them a second life. Now, to understand what happens next, you have to know about this guy, David Foster. They called him the Hitman for a reason. If you wanted a massive, heart-wrenching epic ballad in the 90s, he was the guy you called. Period.
So, Foster and his then-wife Linda Thompson wrote a song for the album called Goodbye, and it was an absolute masterpiece of the genre. Critics even called it one of his best. It was the perfect song, but it needed to find the right audience.
And here is where the story takes that wild turn. In the US, Goodbye was a minor blip on the radar, and the album was a flop. But in Asia, it was a phenomenon, a #1 smash hit in multiple countries, and it pushed the album to sell 4 million copies. They weren't just popular again, they were bigger than they had ever been. And this pivot to Asia didn't just save their career. It completely transformed it. It cemented their status not as an 80s band, but as this timeless global institution. To give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, how about this? 6 sold-out concerts in mainland China. I mean, think about that. How many other Western bands from their era can say they've done that? Or what about this number? A single concert in Havana, Cuba, for an audience of 175,000 people. They were one of the first foreign bands ever invited to play there. That just tells you how far and wide their music had traveled. And you know, this is what brings the whole story full circle. In 2013, after decades of being a bigger name everywhere else in the world, their home country of Australia officially recognized their incredible journey and put them in the ARA Hall of Fame.
And what's really amazing is that they're still at it. They tour relentlessly to this day, playing to sold-out crowds all over the world, all sustained by this incredible global fan base that never, ever let them go.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Their story leaves us with this fascinating question. How do you even measure success when your original audience moves on, but the rest of the world lifts you up higher than you ever were before? For Air Supply, it meant becoming something bigger than they ever could have imagined.